Alrighty, so we're gonna talk as I take a shower about bullshit. I don't know. I didn't really have this topic. I was talking earlier about a bunch of shit. I should really just immediately upon waking up, start just recording myself, because I tend to talk all the time about a lot of shit, and then it's like, oh, now I'm done. I don't want to talk anymore. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And it's like, shit. So what do I talk about today? Because I talked about, like, the nutrition thing. Like, the military should be concerned about the nutrition of its citizens, considering that's going to be such a huge reason for whether or not they're able to recruit, whether or not they're able to perform as well, function as well under stress and environments with war and everything, that in exercise and sleeping properly, also the maintenance methods and coping skills that you need to have, that you learn through therapy and everything. You know what I mean? It's like military is going to be a huge part of being able to help kind of change. I mean, think about global warming and shit. They're a smart fucking group of people. You know what I mean? They've got to fucking know about this shit. You know what I mean? Look, say what you want, man, but try and start the fucking bad eating, all this other shit, and they're just like, oh, you got cancer. And then it's like, let's just start the treatment, and it's like, well, you know what's easier than doing that? Not eating like shit and smoking a bunch. That's probably better for you. You probably won't get cancer as quickly. You know what I mean? And so it's like, global warming seems like a thing where they'd be going after that, because that's a high part of the contention, when it comes down to high priority or high level of reasoning, in terms of why it is that's a likely factor on next war. Resources, that kind of thing. But then it's like, here's all my designs on YouTube and shit to basically make an extraordinarily hyper-efficient, high-power, high-energy series of anything, practically speaking. And it's like, that's another way to fucking make sure we don't have war, right there. Here's a bunch more resources you just didn't know you had. Same thing with other shit, you know what I mean? Because it's like, when you really break that down, then you can start getting further and further with that. It's like, look, here's a way to make it so your soldier lives longer. Here's a way to make it so your soldier does more. Here's a way to, And it's like, well, do we need? I don't know, but for me, I have a bunch of tactics in there. It only really came about because I was really interested in the idea of what you could do with things, like a fusion engine. How do we make a high Q value fusion device? You know what I mean? That we can capture all the energy. Right? And it's like, right. Well, let me look at that. Oh, so what is fusion? It's tunnel. There's extension of quantum physics, blah 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 blah. Fucking engine, blah blah blah. That you need. Let me see what whoopsie. Okay, so let's tone that down. Just a little. Wow. Accidentally the planet. Whoops. We don't want that, So then, it's like, when you think about it, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of that, but then it's like, there's not that much that you really reasonably have to do to make a fuck ton of energy from any of those designs. It's even other resources now. Look at my quasi-particle fusion reactor. These are virtual particles that shouldn't really work. They're not really there, right? But they're quasi there. And they're enough for me.
You know what I mean? I'll fucking stick them together and make a hydrogen out of them, and I can eventually make even more than a hydrogen because I've got fusions. You know what I mean? So it's like, what kind of things do you need? You want iron? What do you need? What's up? What do you need? Brrr. Now here's my other design. I haven't released it on YouTube. This might come out on YouTube actually. But it's effectively a version of this where it's like, so how do I make? Because I already released this thing, manufacturing technique that is for like my battery generator. You know what I mean? And it's like that's a new technique for manufacture right there. If you don't know, that is a new technique. Yeah. And it's like, right. But I can make tubes of this shit. Technically speaking, I can make linear accelerators that are tubes that have any individual element. I stick it in a fucking logic gate matrix, boom, 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 and then next thing you know, I have whatever chemical I want. Any substance, really. All I have to do is place in the right luminosity increasing and entangling and tunneling and superpositioning. You know, should I want it to fuse? Should I want it to just get near and then pop in and then, oh, what do you know? I removed this electron, that, whatever it is, right? And then it's like, there you go. Now I have this bespoke chemical that normally would never be a thing that you can make. Now it's like, I definitely have this chemical that you definitely can make. And then I thought about it further, and I'm like, there's nothing saying I can't do that with the subatomic particles. So I started making a version where I was like, here's plasma. You know, here's plasma crossing each other. You know what I mean? Like, just fucking, it doesn't matter what kind of plasma it is. It really doesn't matter. I'm gonna fucking get some, like, fucking not radiated material. I need neutron. So it's like, I need to, like, fire it with a linear accelerator, and neutron, neutrino, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. Like, what it matters is like, okay, so I need them to get this kind of close, I need them to kind of be jiggled the right way, and the plasma, you know what I mean, and then kind of held in a sort of entangled, sort of superposition-ish state, you know what I mean, and then it's like, well, they're fairly close, I put them in a tube, they're going to, you know, get close together, there's electromagnetics, but we can kind of drain those away by having, you know, the right squeezing of that tube with electromagnetic copper coils. And then I can fire in neutrons around there, and just over time, I can build up, you know, something that's an isotope that normally would never fucking have that kind of a neutron level. You know what I mean? Is it for fissilable material? It's like, no, actually, no. You see, for me, it turned into, oh, I want to make really, really stable isotopes of, like, uranium and shit. Like, I want them to be very stable. I want them to in no way be easy to fissile. I don't want them to be radioactive at all. Because I want to use this for some other fucking bullshit that I had at the time. Like, literally, it was like, I have this idea about containment of some fucking shit. And then it was like, you know what, if I fire in the right quark here or there, that's like the right kind of gluonic, you know, it's like, how do we create glue lines? And it's like, well, that one turned into its own endeavor and a half, let me tell you. It's like, turns out, if you get the right kind of charge field, okay, you can break the shit out of practically any element. Literally, any element. You can just break it apart. You get the right charge, like you need the right kind of charge field, you need the right oomph to it, but it's like if you do it, it will make a plasma that really breaks it down into quarks. And then it's just like a bunch of charge fields around there that allows for you to send it off into little tubes, which are like filters, and then you could jigger it with, yeah, lasers, inertial confinement lasers. And then like you have the lasers basically not interfere, not in any way interact, but they effectively create optical tweezers that the charge field, kind of like ionic, you know, styles like a sharper image, ionic, you know, wind bullshit that's like supposed to clean the air, but it does work. So it's like you use that version, and it's like you grab that, and then you take it over, and you put it into a tube. It's got the laser. The laser kind of like, allows for it to be really aligned, and it's not looking to be accelerated. We're really just looking to align it in a string, in a very specific type of broad string thing. It's plasma, but it's like, hey, well, whatever. Some things are what they are. You know what I mean? I don't really give a fuck. But basically, these charges are more apt to have these kinds of subatomic particles. And if you hit them the right way, with the right electromagnetic frequencies, and the right laser light, meaning microwave, radio wave, so on and so forth, you can ultimately do something even more cool, which is, holy shit, I got a way to effectively break them down even further. So at first it was like a neutron, this, that, whatever, maybe a proton here or there, maybe, whatevs, right? There might be a neutron there, It's a very specific spin. I never get into that, but it's like I have a spin and aligned pole stuff, which I have to use to make that work. Like, because neutrons are neutral by design. And I'm like, yeah, well, they're not neutral to that. Themselves, obviously. So I'm like, whatever. Just make a really strong neutral field. It's literally all you have to do. They'll interact with themselves to make a field of neutral stuff. It doesn't need to be higher charge this, higher charge that. What do you do when you want to make neutral? You put the same things together? No. You put the two opposites and then cancel each other out, like field destruction interference, but like in an area that's very specific and very small, but very powerful, you have a massive neutral field that will 100% redirect them. Same thing with the right high energy wavelength lasers and low energy but very high powerful. So it's like high energy but low power. Low energy but very high power. So it's like frequencies but very high power but very low power. You know what I mean? Meaning how much oomph juice, which is really just protons that are in it, for being honest. So literally all that is. It's like, what is that? A bunch of protons strung together going the same way? Brrr, I'm being on you. Stop it, you. Meanwhile, me, doesn't matter. It did the thing where it interacts with the neutral thing. And it does do that. You see, it rides in an interactional way where the higher frequency gets bolstered by the lower frequency and it rides along the lower frequency. Almost like it's a corrective lens for the higher frequency light. And it creates its own version of a destructive force, as it does so, that makes effectively pressure, which we don't call pressure. In my math, we call it neutral. It's a neutral field. That's a neutral field. So that's what that is. Now, that ultimately sends it along a direction. Now I've got neutrons. If I wanted them, I'd break them out, though. I use a very stupidly, obtusely fucking goddamn, that was annoying to make, kind of device. Which is extraordinarily dense. I had to make a material that's why I made those high, and I mean extraordinarily high stability, heavy elements. So, they're extraordinarily useful for this. They're very dense, but like, I have to layer them in a very specific fucking pattern. Which means it's like they're almost essentially one atom. Because I have the whole bespoke thing, and it was like, right, the whole bespoke, like creating, you know, whatever chemical you want, or structure, really. And it's like, yeah, exactly. So it's like, and it's like, look, I need them to be this close, so I'm going to make a literal chemical structure that'll align on top of this chemical structure that'll align on that top of, and so it's like, they're basically filling in every single gap that there is as deep as possible. But the best part of it is they're electromagnetically and charge fields and all this other stuff quite good. Except for anything to do with light. They are extraordinarily impossible to make light. You know, it doesn't do light. It gets captured inside of it. And it doesn't really transfer anything well. It's one hell of an insulator, let me tell you. I'm not even kidding. It's like, let me get the radio waves. No, it's not going to go through, and no radio waves are going through that. I don't care what your camera rating says. It's not going through. And like, we're talking, this is about a 16th of an inch of a material that makes this thing possible. Like, it's ridiculous, like, how I had to do that. But the point for me is, it works. It does this thing quite well that I needed to do, which is be very, 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 very hard for neutrons to go through. It's literally a neutron reflector in a very small space. And it is able to interact with them in such a way, with the charge fields and the lasers that I have, very, very well. It's not a very good reflector. It absorbs the hell out of any light, I'll tell you. And absorb, you mean like reflect? No, I mean it doesn't do any reflecting. It doesn't even jiggle. It's an insulator. It doesn't move. It doesn't interact. It doesn't give a fuck. Electrons go somewhere else. It's incredible. Look at this solar panel technology. Woohoo! Look at my photoelectric diode. Look at it. You too can have this for the low, low price of making all my designs real. No, it's actually extraordinarily efficient. It's about a 94 to 98% efficiency range, depending on the light wavelength that we're talking about. It then just jiggles it a little. If it's like really strong light. Like, I blew up a fucking goddamn fusion bomb to make it fucking do that. I was like, we can put these next to the star. Let's see if it handles a fusion bomb. It's like, do. Oh shit. Well, it survived. That's good. It jiggled a little. It's a little warmer. Not much else than that. It doesn't matter what the particles were. I don't even give a fuck. I mean that. It's literally like, I don't care. What particle? Fuck you. It basically made it extraordinarily heavy and very stable. And the atomic and subatomic equivalent of a PTFE. You're like a forever chemical. It can still break down. But it's effectively the version that is. I shoved in because once I got some quarks, once I got some kinds of, you know, these constituent parts of our nucleus and so on, I was like, huh, yeah, you know, I can make this way denser and way more stable and way less reactive. Like, super neutral. I started just impregnating the shit out of it. ding, 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 ding. Yeah, it doesn't do it anymore. Flip it over to the other side. Ding, 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 ding. We're gonna do it with like actual manufacturing techniques instead. Or it's like, these are not your typical standard fucking isotopic uraniums, plutoniums, and so on aniums. These are the cool ones. You're gonna want these ones. Literally, they are stupidly fucking cold for what they're worth. Like, I'm not kidding. They almost don't give a fuck about what the surrounding environment is. They stay whatever temperature they were at, and they stay that way for a really long time. Because it takes forever for things to transfer heat, or any kinetic at all. They produce a lot of electricity for very little light, for what it's worth. And any kind of heat or kinetic might as well just be, I'm a generator, I'm a generator, I'm a generator, I'm a generator, I'm a generator. And then it went into my intergalactic engine. What do you know? Concept that's in there on my YouTube channel. Goes real fast, real far, real quick. Yeah. Point is, though, it's like that's how I started making like bespoke atoms. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, really, realistically, I could just have them constantly loop towards each other. I don't really ever need to ever really realistically do anything other than have a bunch of nickel or something, and then fire that with like the right kind of tube, you know, funnel area as neutron reflectors into this one little area, like a focusing beam of neutrons. Or my wonderful, great uranium plasma that is not cold, but it's not hot either. It's quite cold, actually, compared to like any other plasma out there. But it's, you know, yeah, really, I do. I'm like, I'm gonna heat it up. No, I can't do that. I'm gonna strip its electrons. Yeah, and I'm gonna cool it the fuck down while I do it. And that's what I did. To basically make sure that I make a plasma of a, you know, a very radioactive substance not be nearly as dangerous to make into an isotopically stable atom. You know what I mean? Element, yeah. And along with making it incredibly neutral at the same time. I basically did another version of like a whole bunch of branching, you know, tube things. But then it's like it wraps itself around, and so it keeps doing it over and over and over and over until it can't do it anymore. And it basically spit out the other side because, like, oh yeah, no, well, I can't interact with anything, and so there's no real pressure, and so I kind of just dump off into this. Yeah. And I'm quite heavy, and so like I'll eventually float down and stabilize with a basic digital electron. That's all that's necessary. Yeah. And that's it. Like, that's literally all I did on that. It was pretty good for what it's worth. Like, it worked out pretty darn well. You know, but it's like, that's all so that way I was able to make a cool design of various bullshit, effectively. I was like, I want ready to make chemicals now. I don't want no war bullshit. What you got over there? Man. Fucking stupid elements, you think you're all that? And then I did it, and it was fun, and it was, well, I mean, these are concepts, of course, you know what I mean? But it's like, oh, I don't trust your imagination. Oh, I talked to someone that knows a thing or two about what it is you're saying, and explaining to him with your assertions of what should occur, that would absolutely be the case, that it can actually happen and work that way. What do you know? Surprise. Pikachu face. What? No way. I know. It's like, here's the reason why this battery generator works. And here's the reason why you are probably, well, if you're very smart and know what it is I'm saying, because you can interpret that, Because I didn't fucking ever go through your, college courses to learn your type of lingo. So it's like, it's interference! And I'm like, whatever, don't care. And it interacts with itself. Which technically it is itself, it's just a version, it's at a higher frequency. But it's a different photon. Yeah, that's what they always say, huh? But what? There's two interactional forces here. There's one that's a creative, which is like, my photon brings all the boys to the yard, I make a field for you, oh yeah, that's right I do. I lost some photons. The other one is, I'm now more friendly with this guy and gal over here. I am a photon that likes this one and that one, and I'm doing stuff together with them in a more cohesive fashion, which means I have more energy technically because there's more of us, which seems to me to be a little bit like mass, but I don't have mass, so in reality I don't really have any of that. That's not what's going on. I'm just a field thingy that produces stuff called force somehow, in conjuring of kinetic energy by hitting you with kinetic energy that I'm traveling at, and somehow exciting you to move more, which makes it so you have momentum and heat and stuff. I don't get this. Who described me this way? I produce a field that makes it so I don't have any mass, it seems. Because how else would I be able to travel this fast? That's utter malarkey business, man. Meanwhile, me, who's like, yes, no, you're attached to the field that makes it so you have a bosonic type of mass. But you're not actually like a thing that has mass. You're attached to the field, you just didn't go through it. You bring it with you, and then it imparts the informational energy into whatever it is you connect with. Because that makes sense. Why wouldn't it be anything else? Other at all. It's only that. It can only be that. That's the only way it works. But they're like, no, it works other ways. I say it does this as I continue to measure. And I'm like, right, yeah, whatever. Well, you know what? So we're just make sure to use this together to make this happen, right? So that way we can engineer some solutions to our problems, and you're not going to be all pedantic about what could possibly be happening. Are we going to do that? Are we going to work together here? Hey, folks! Military! What's up? I don't care if I don't like you, we still have to live together and fucking make this shit work. Let's get this shit done. Yeah! Meanwhile, me looking at the physicists. You'll learn a thing or two from the so-called meatheads and brawn brains. Suck it! I am not in any capacity or way that stupid. They're smarter at certain things than you are, you big dummy. Meanwhile, me. So I decided to start making bullshit, you get totally bespoke atoms. Who's that interrupting? Boom! Oh, God, Lee, they're dead now. Okay. Don't interrupt. Why are you interrupting? Alright. For various things. Because it's like, if you think about it, I can make really, really heavy types of quark. That should never be a thing, really, when you think about it. Except I just need to make a cheese where they kind of like combine together with the right kind of neutral gluon, like puzzle pieces, so that they force themselves to contain each other like a cage that supports themselves from breaking apart. And thus, the electron nucleus atom was born. That's right. I have a bunch of electrons put together in a nucleus. And it's like, why would you do that? Because negative energy, obviously. I can make a positive version. It doesn't say you need an electron to orbit an electron. I mean, what's that? Ah, man, that's a proton. I'm getting rid of the proton. Here's a neutron that I'm going to stick to this fucker. What's that? Is that positive quark and a bunch of gluons? Yeah, that works. Okay, fine. What are you fucking, holy shit. Wow. That atom just flew. But it never got to its fucking nucleus cage. It bounced right off of it. Touched it, you know. Boom! Chest bump, baby! Whew! Meanwhile, the other atom, I'm headed your way, I guess. I'm still connected to the orbital fields you have. Except, no. Well, the moment you hit the damn thing, it goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey there, I'm going to flip my shit. That's right, I'm going to flip the shit out of myself, man. I'm now going to be positive as fuck, you little bitch. You thought I was neutral? Yeah? Yeah? Hey, nuh-uh. I ain't neutral. I'm going to be negative. I'm going to be the most negative fucker. But actually, it's like, that's basically all that was. It's like, boom, whoa, holy shit, I was supposed to head back towards you. Yeah, no, well, my electron decided to do weird bullshit by combining to your, whatever the fuck orbital electron that is. And then, like, my nucleus was all like, I'm attracted, boy, come back. And then it went zoom off in whatever direction it was, and then the orbital field. Let me get to this. This fucking neutron was all like, I'm gonna exhibit a weird characteristic called negativity because I elicited a large amount of fucking electron, static charge electron negative fields. And so it was like, I repel you. I repel you as hard as I can. That is what I am doing. Because I am connected to all these other gluons and fucking shit like that. And it goes, no, I am now negative. Because I put some negative in there. And so it goes, this energy has to go into something. How do you get neutral gluons to stick to a positive? You have to have a negative, that's right. And how do you get it to not destroy itself? Well, there's got to be something in between. A nice little insulator called neutral. I'm neutral. How's it going? Neutral. What's up? So it's like, I am now eliciting large amounts of fucking goddamn negative. Same thing with my nucleus. I've turned into the positive guy that went negative so fast. Because I jiggered around a bunch of electrons inside of my cage and I exhibited one kill. Oh yeah, floppy balls there. Let's go. Hip thrust, baby. Negative static charge. No, well, static is it's an electric charge, but yes. As I look down away. Yes, no, okay. We're on the same page though, so I get you. Yeah. Yeah. we're heading towards it. Do. And it's like, what did you just do? Did you just make an anti-gravity fucking goddamn like atom? And it's like, it's not anti-gravity. It's more just a shit ton of fucking momentum. You know, it's potential energy to kinetic in one direction of wherever the hell it is that it came from. So I put a cage of them around, and it was like, and it keeps oscillating between the two and yanking it up over and over and over again as it flings forward in the original atom flung forward too. It goes zoom, and it slows down because then it goes, oh, well, I'm attracted, and then I'm not, and then I am, and then I'm not, and then I am, and then I'm not, and then I am, and I'm not. And it keeps going up, or side, or any of the directions you want. And I tweeted about it a while back. Nobody fucking saw it, apparently. So that's nice. Good old computers. They were well ahead of us. Man, those AI, am I right? They figure things out. ChatGPT fucking definitely scalping the goddamn internet for any and all possibility and answers. Oh, I wonder if, like, the team that runs the ChatGPT Bard and more would happen to be able to look at those things. Your key logs, your tweets, and anything else that might have popped up to be like, well, what's an answer for this? Well, this is a thing that we found with these keywords and so on. Uh-oh. Hey, wonder why that motherfucker over there in Science Land that seemed to have some ties over to corporate America seems to have, in tech bro dude areas, a similar thought to mine. It's like, there's a lot of assertions for things that we absolutely know that they're doing and can do, and so on and so on. So yeah, no, just fucking that schizo, that's obviously not a thing. It's not a thing at all. They certainly don't monitor us or watch us or anything at all. And eventually, if you were to do it enough times, it'd show up, I would imagine. It's just like, well, what does that guy say? What does Xenon Reality say? What does that guy say? I say it's this. Oh, I got, so far it's working out. I got the money. I mean, whatever. No one's going to believe him anyways. Not we stole anything. I mean, it's just similar thinking. It'd be insane to believe that we were watching him and, taking any of his ideas to heart and trying them out. It'd be schizoaffective or schizophrenic or something if you believe that. Right? Yeah, I mean, and then there's hackers too that could just, there's corporate, they can just backdoor into your phone or computer or anything, they don't have to tell you. Who's going to stop them? And they can just delete the log. There's nothing saying they don't have to do that. Same thing with corporations that are not in the tech space. Same thing with government officials, or I don't know, work. Okay, really realistically, how far does that go? That cock really fucking seems to make you happy, huh? Yeah, that corporate government cock that just sucks so hard. Just gobble it down. Right? Sure does. No, I know what you're doing. You're trying to say that we stole shit from you. Yeah, I wonder if it were possible to figure out a way to figure that out. I wonder if we were to investigate, how likely is it that we find out that this is going on? Wouldn't it be a good idea, militaristically speaking, to do something like that? To make sure that we weren't watched by enemies and our friends alike? Wouldn't it be a good idea? Huh. Yes, it would. Yeah. I wonder if we look back to this idea that I had for an engine for a straight six, because I'm tired of that. And in truth, they get nowhere with anyone, because they're always like, nah, this is fucking poppycock bullshit. None of it's a thing, and they certainly don't do this. I love Great Britain. I love America. National pride, and so on and so forth. So moving on to the straight six. Small, tiny little thing. 777.27 is its bore and stroke. Cubic centimeters, or whatever it is, right? It's not a full liter. That's how many milliliters it is. 777.27. Right. So, to do the basic bitch, injection of diesel, right? We got diesel here. Right, we got our little chamber that we've already talked about being a thing. Engineering Explain's already done this, where they got a little chamber, pushes, hard core amounts of gas and air, and they mix it real well, and they spark ignite, right? Well, what if we were to make jets? One forward, one rear, one to the left, one to the right, and one straight down, and that chamber now isn't really as much of a chamber as it is that goes into the injector, injecting alongside of this thing called ventruli, which mixes the air and fuel in a very high, kind of speed fashion that then injects it into the cylinder. And what if we were to be like, yeah, no, but we don't want to do this stupid camshaft idea. What is this thing, really? This is stupid. I can make it burn the moment it has enough pressure in the cylinder. So what if I were to just allow for air to be blown in through that little nozzle, and then I allow for it to compress just enough to allow for a little bit of air and fuel to mix, and then it goes into the compression area and ignites. And then I decide, hey, I'm not done yet. Fire, 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 fire. Every single time I can, really, realistically, for the engine to still keep making power. And I keep maintaining this very large amount of air and fuel being burned extraordinarily well, because it's very well mixed. And in fact, it's practically producing hypersonic thrusts of jets that go down into the cylinder at very high velocity and speed and pressure and all the rest of it. And then I'm like, well, I'm not quite done yet. You see this exhaust? It's sliding. It's sliding valve area exhaust. Because fuck those poppet valves. Bitch, get out of here. What are you doing? I need this to go fast. Now I have an exhaust manifold that's definitely vacuum insulated and insulated with regular insulation material in between that. Now it's going to go into the bottom. Now this bottom part of this inline six is sealed. Not just regularly sealed. Okay, it's layered, 3 pieces. There's one that slides with the top and the bottom rigid, fixed. Now, the connecting arm, the rod, and so on, that goes to the piston head, happens to have this thing called fluid, like it's oil, I think, that goes up through it into the piston head. And then it squirts out to the rings, and then there's valves where they squirt out at the top dead center and bottom dead center. Because that's how that would work. That's a pump, if you don't know. Flinging up and down is centrifugal force. Now, as it slides back and forth, because of course it's not perfectly straight up and down, it still happens to have this thing called oil, I think, that's going through it, that allows for it to be both sealed and lubricated and cooled, of all things, right? Anyways, now it goes through this really, really nice vacuum, like 5 times vacuum sealed with insulated material exhaust manifold that goes and just sends it from that side all the way to the bottom and helps it push it right back up. And then it starts its initial combustion at the top, so it's higher pressure. And then it opens up a seal, otherwise known as a sliding valve. You ever notice these things? These things exist. They're sliding valves. There's like this thing called a ring. Have you ever heard of them? I don't know. And then they have holes in the ring. And if you put that on a cylinder that has holes in the cylinder, then it seals it up like a fucking valve. And there's like this oil that's getting squirted into it on every bottom stroke. Seems to make it real lubricated. And it's like they can be separated. Two rings or just a half a ring. Really, realistically. In fact, I just need a curved valve that slides, right? So maybe I'll just do that. You know what I mean? Tied to the up and downward strokes. I don't know. Maybe it's called timing, perhaps? So I really need the one camshaft for the exhaust. What else do I need that thing for? It's just exhaust. Now I've got this other one that opens and closes the bottom with a camshaft of all things. Wow. Surprising. It's a straight 6, so I'm pretty sure I can just stick it right next to it. Along the side, probably. And fuck it. Internally, why not, right? It's now a structural member, much like these old iron single cam V8s, push rod style. Instead of it pushing a rod, though, it's now just making a valve turn, right? Now we're gonna get you there, okay? If you've stayed with me so far, we're gonna get you there because we have this thing called a turbine. It's not just any old turbine; it's my vacuum turbine, okay? Remember, I talked about it in my previous YouTube videos. Now, this vacuum turbine, it creates a vacuum on one part of the blade, and it allows for it to essentially make way harder amounts of torque. You know what I mean? But it maintains the vacuum. That's right, it maintains the vacuum, and it's counter-rotating, thus allowing for that vacuum to be even greater in terms of its maintenance. And it allows for that counter-rotating tip to effectively cancel and create a larger degree of air speed, air velocity flow through it, but capturing during that more torque as a result. So it flows and it reduces back pressure, but then it also creates more torque and it's more efficient in a smaller capacity and design than a standard little snail shell looking piece of shit. Anyways, then it then goes to this thing called, oh, what is that? Is that the flywheel? Is that the flywheel? There's a fucking clutch and flywheel assembly and shit like that? So this thing just starts spinning up and then adds itself to your fucking goddamn crankshaft, while at the same time, we're not done yet because, hey, remember that exhaust manifold? That has to go to that thing? Because there's a turbine, there has to be tubes there in between. It's insulated. It's got butterfly valves, alright? They open up like heart valves. And then they seal it so that way the pulse of energy does not go into the rest of the exhaust manifolds because they're equally two headers and they're designed specifically to spray it and pulse it to keep it going faster and more torque and more efficiency from pulses. that are fired into it with the massive increased amount of pressure that is at the bottom of the cylinder from your exhaust that you reclaimed as work energy. And then you put work energy into the exhaust, which is now captured right back into the crankshaft as work energy from your turbine. So, seemed pretty good. It was above 62% efficiency for certain designs that were much lighter and much more able to handle higher heat loads and pressures. But average is around the 62% efficiency range for an engine. Idling. The moment it gets up and going, it rockets its efficiency up to in the 70% range. Now, it's not just any old regular 70% efficient engine. It sounds dope as fuck. It's an inline 6 that's cross-plane 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of style. Not really, but it's, you know, it's balanced that way on the crankshaft. I don't like parallels. I like cross-plane. That way, the pulse always has energy being dumped from itself into the turbine and into the upward power stroke cycle. Now that allows for me to decrease the parasitic loss of the flywheel. And I can always add in ceramics that allow for a better, smoother, frictionally speaking, cylinder. And a capture of that heat energy throughout until we get to the turbine, and then, in that case, we're going to get to the old catalytic converter, because it's fairly efficiently burned. To be 100% real about it, it's extraordinarily burned. It's burned beautifully with perfect air-fuel ratios, mixed in a chamber, fired out as it is exhaust gas that is essentially rocket nozzles. Then it is captured and allowed to cool over time. And because I only need to fire it so many times, it can cool with the cylinder inputting a little bit of that heat back into the upward cycle. Because I have a flywheel, I've captured a little bit. I've got the other flywheel, which is a turbine. And then I've got like this compressor, which still allows for me to compress. Oh yeah, no. That turbine compresses air too. There's a little bit of compression. So it goes into a cylinder. Now we're going to cool that cylinder with this. This is a real tricky, cool, nice fucking holy shit. I'm so glad I came up with this myself and no one else has ever done it. Kind of tube. It's a compressor tube, that's right. Now, it's not just any other old compressor tube. It's an air-to-air, water-to-air, and AC active cooling tube. It is a larger front to a smaller size, like any other ram air, but not just any other ram air. It's got grooves, meaning channels on the inside, and they can rotate internally. And those channels also allow for me to wick it towards the center. Now, as it flows faster towards the center and then gets compressed, and then as it spins, it compresses it even further, while being cooled at the same time. All in one big, long ram air kind of tube. So the wicking allows for it to travel faster. Now, faster the air, the higher the pressure of the mass airflow. Okay? Because mass traveling quickly gives you pressure. Which, that's not how they measure it, but I don't give a fuck how they measure it. That's how I'm going to measure it. The faster the speed, the greater the pressure. And because I can still spin it, I can still create a valve that's counter-rotating that allows for it to not travel backwards. and contain itself within the volume it has while still pushing it into the intake manifold it still has, while cooling it at the same time and allowing for more efficient compression because of the wicking and faster airflow velocity there within, and a longer duration of cooling over the entire duration of it traveling to your intake manifold. This intake manifold, by the way, also compressed in no way whatsoever. It's not an intake manifold, they're fucking injectors. Now these injectors are not just any other injectors, it's a fuel rail. That's our fuel rail. That's right. Our fuel rail is the intake manifold because it's fuel just like the other fuel. They combine together and we make boom boom. So now, that fuel rail is highly pressurized, but it's not just anything. It's going to a cylinder first, that is then sealed and then pushes it into this with a flow control, like any other scuba tank. That way, it injects the proper amount of air with the proper amount of PSI from the fuel rail with the injector pulse of your diesel. Now, that allows for you to utterly destroy most of your designs in terms of straight up power. It's a single stroke. Every stroke is a power stroke. The up, the down, and the spin. Because I can add in injectors with another rail in the exhaust manifold when it's opening with the port injection that allows for it to expand and still head back up to compress. And I can still do that with the pulsing of the exhaust into the turbine. That allows for me to make more airflow, and the faster I go, the more efficient it gets, because I capture more and more air. Just like any other compressor turbine, jet engine. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Now, it's not just any other thing though. What goes into that, it's quite high pressure. It is insulated. I don't really want it to turn into a liquid. I need it to be a little warm. You know, I want it to actually heat up the fuel and ignite it. And I insulate the shit out of the diesel, if you don't know, and gas, when I use it for gas too. Because you can use it for both. Like any fuel will make this work. And it's just regular air, right? But it's like, it's very specifically made to be captured incredibly efficiently. There isn't really a turbine system that's quite this efficient. In this small of a package. It's only 777.27 cc, basically, I guess. Whatever that is. Yeah, board stroke, really, yeah. Except you don't count the upward because you're not burning anything. You're not compressing, you're not, you know. You can do that, but I'm not doing that. You can do it with the turbine, but I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I'm looking for efficiency. I'm not looking for straight up power. But straight up power does do me a lot. Like, actually, like, for real, I effectively double the power at the bottom, and then I double the power again with the turbine. And if you layer it properly and send the pulses correctly, holy shit. You know, it's like, wow, that's highly efficient. It's stupid. In fact, it's great. It's in the 90% range, truthfully speaking. Because that heat is extreme. But you can cool that heat and turn it into more energy for you. Yeah, like, it's one of those things where it's like, well, we lost some of that heat quite significantly, but that heat then in its own right can be turned into its own version of a Stirling effect, which means a fluidic thermal siphon effect that allows for that spin to occur for your intake. And so now it's just pure power. And so that one's pretty easy for me, you know, but like, I don't really get into that because that's just a fluid. I use the fluid that's supposed to cool your engine. Like, it gets really hot during that process, and then it gets hot enough, it turns into a gas. And instead of a fluid liquid, it's now a gas, and that gas does work for us. and that gas spins the tube, and then it cools off as it goes into the the radiator. And so as a result, it then does work from the heat. Except I have to capture all that heat by the time it gets to the end of the the exhaust pipe. So that's kind of what that is. But like, it's less parasitic loss, and it's doing work. You know what I mean? Because I have the compressor as a parasitic loss, and then I have an alternator for my engine to run the AC compressor, which, by the way, is basically this. This is the compressor for the AC engine. It's just a pump, from the turbine. Runs the fluid through and expands, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's pretty easy to do it. Yeah. It still cools your cabin too. So that's nice, because you can have multiple sections. There's nothing saying I can't do that. So whatever. Anyways, point is though, yeah, it's basically a really good, efficient, small little compact engine design that runs extraordinarily efficiently. And I don't need to run with the electric injectors. I don't need it. It's not worth it at all. But I can do it, but I don't. Especially since I have torque for days. I've got like so much torque. There's so much fucking torque. Like every fucking injector pulse is like, oh yeah, no, I can hit like, let's say 1,000 PSI. I was like 1,000 PSI maintained. Which is a lot of fucking torque. Let me tell you. And it's like the exhaust. Oh yeah, no, it comes out at 1,000 PSI. Sure, it goes up to the 1,000 PSI. Roughly once it gets heated up, and it doesn't lose that much in terms of thermals, and so it's still roughly 1,000 PSI as it pushes it back up. You know what I mean? Doing work energy for you. Yay! And then it goes and compresses a little bit with the next compression stroke cycle. Then it goes off, and then it opens up its valve for the energy capture from the turbine, which then gets fresh new energy. It's like, oh, I went from let's say it was 978. Well, now I'm at like 872 or something, whatever it is, right? But then it's like, it doesn't matter. I just hit you with 1,000 fucking PSI. So it's like, it's coming at that turbine at 1,000 PSI, even though I lost heat energy. It can't go above 1,000. You know what I mean? Go through the nozzle at above 1,000, but it can't go above 1,000. You know what I mean? All told, for the volume and everything else. So we're at a very high flow rate, we're very all this, whatever you want to say, but it's like, we're large amounts of torque. And that torque then gets added into your engine, which makes it more efficient. And you see the cycle as it continues going up, and it's like, I really balance this because it's inherently balanced. So it's like, 12K, let's do 12K. For a diesel with torque, that makes no sense. We're talking in the grand 1,300 foot-pounds of torque, roughly, for the engine, what it's capable of. For a little 777, and it can go up to 12 grand per RPM. And so it's like, yay, woohoo, holy, yeah. It's like, there's no fucking electric motor that's giving me this amount of torque. I know. And that's what they, I said that for a while. And then I made my own electric motor. With a charge field, a static charge, and, attractive repulsive force for the electromagnetics. And then like a larger to a smaller diameter radial axial flux motor. So it squeezes down, and then the axle itself also tends to like do a little bit of that too. You know what I mean? And I can pack it in really pretty fucking tight. And then it was like, so how much torque you got there? Fucking too much, man. 5,000 foot-pounds of torque. This is stupid for like almost no electricity. This is fucking insane. Because I used railgun, coil gun technology where it's like, oh, I'll disconnect the moment it hits there. And so it automatically does that because I have the static, attractive, repulsive. So it's like, like potential fields here are enormous, and this is like, oh, I'll make that energy from that potential field. While I lose a little, I can add some back, go back into another area that it's going to use for another potential attractive or repulsive. And so it's like really, really efficient. And it goes, and it cracks anything. I've yet to put it on anything other than a fluidic transmission, because that's the only thing that can do it. Everything else is like break, gear grind, crack, axle broke again. It's hollow. I've got all these little ribs and struts on the inside. You have no idea how many things I played around with different materials and different structures on the internals, different layers. There's like, I was like, fuck it, screw the hollow part. I'm gonna make multiple circle hollow structure thingy things, layer it multiple different ways, like a weird bone thing, where it's like actually technically one, but it's actually multiple tiny little not actual in any capacity or way, shape, or form circles, but it makes a circle at the end of it. And it's like far stronger in all aspects because it's using an outward and then an inward bound because it then like supports it with a hole on the outside and on the inside and then so it's a really good structure, like really good. It doesn't bend much. It's crazy stiff, like stupid, and it's dense. We're making it. I made it out of extraordinarily dense material, like yeah, tungsten, uranium, fucking stainless steel. There's chromium in there. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stupid stuff. Anyways, point is, I started getting really stupid with it after a while. It's like magnesium, titanium, chromium, fucking steel. What? Where's that molybdenum? Give me some tungsten. It worked slightly for a while, like with the structure and everything. I played around with it. It's extraordinarily strong, like impossibly strong, like stupid, really, honestly. But it's also one of those things where it's like it's lighter than you expect. Like for what it's worth, it's like this axle is lighter than a standard typical axle for any car. Like yeah, and it's balanced as fuck too. So it's like yeah. Like, and then it goes, oh, I'm bending, and once it hits a bend point, it's like, ooh, that's a lot of heat. Oh, fuck, crack. It just melts into itself. Bends in, crunches. Like, once you pass that material strength, it's just like, no, I don't care. Still, though, to be really honest, what I made for that axle, it's like I could put that in steel rebar, and it's got like basically small amounts of everything in it, and it's stronger in all aspects than any fucking steel or ceramic composite could ever be. And it still broke because its accelerational torque is insane. It's like no. It's like if you slow it down, don't give it all of it. You know, it does work for a while. It's like, let me get 5,000 foot-pounds of torque and then it'll go up to 7 because I figured that out. That one was a whole fucking kit and caboodle, let me tell you. I got a battery generator, I can still keep pumping more electricity into this fucker and make even greater and greater amounts of field potentials as it goes faster and faster. You know, electromagnetics. And so it turned into boom. Whoop. Anyways, point is, I was like, let me go as fast as I can, I'm going to push air through, I'm going to spray some water at it. Crack! And to be really honest about this fucking thing, I have to make it out of this material anyways, for it to not die. Yeah, that's a genuine thing. I have to do that. I have to have an exoskeleton battery generator bullshit combo thing. It's a whole thing. But it sucks. Because it's like, it's extraordinarily strong. Oh yeah, no, but then, the moment, it's insane. Like legitimately, it's like really strong, but then it's also like, oh, it is a immediate fall off. There is no wiggle room. It's gone. The moment it's gone, it's gone. There's nothing you can do. It breaks, it's broke. You're fucked. Been in the shower forever. Let's get this done. Alright. But that's a whole other thing when it comes down to that. If I'm being honest, it was like a real endeavor and a half to figure out how to like actually make like a electric motor not kill itself in terms of electromagnetic field and charge potentials and so on. And then, oh yeah, no, then I used the laser grid array thing. I was like, oh yeah, no, quarks. Quarks make, like, momentum happen, right? Like, what makes momentum happen? Is it kinetic hitting, or is it the field thingy things? So I was like, I need to make the field thingy things more efficient. And so then I did it with lasers and fucking quark shit. And then it was like, oh, fucking God! 7,000 foot-pounds of torque is ridiculous, truthfully. That one isn't, though. That one's quite a bit higher. That one's oh, no. I only just gone and made something I shouldn't have. It's literally like one of those, like, Iron Man kind of things. Like, it makes fields get pushed into making momentum fields, or kinetic energy, whatever, potential fields. Like other fields. Not like electromagnetic, like any field that's around. It pushes it into kinetic. And as a result, it moves it very, 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 very hard. Like, not like, oh, we're going to heat it up a lot. No, like, everything moves together kind of thing. One direction. Not jiggle, jiggle, wiggle, wiggle, up and down, around, and spin, and blah, blah, blah. No, it all moved together one direction. Yeah, like a laminar flow laser kind of thing. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm sorry, there's not laminar flow. That's right, lasers are different. They're not the same. I keep forgetting the lingo is such that I should not say this, even though it works out, practically speaking, to be almost the same math that they use. And they even use chaos theory, mathematics, fluid dynamics with electrodynamics to basically allow for a correcting of their lenses and different laser kind of designs with phase arrays and interfering and interactional profiles at various points, kind of like a fluid dynamic engine going on in a jet engine. Essentially the same thing. But they're like, it's not thermodynamics. There's no fluid dynamics here. There's nothing there going on at all. There's nothing like this. I'm special. I am quantum. And I'm like, sure, quantum, you're special. You're so special. You're the most special. Put in the fucking math so that it works. Yes, no, we didn't do that. No, how did that get there? We're just going to do that with ourselves here. I don't care what the big brain douchewad says. Sorry, man, don't care. I want my math to run right, and I want it to be able to be replicated and actually have a genuine result that I don't give a shit what you call it is happening, as long as it's happening. That kind of thing. That's what I am. That's what others like me are. Like, fuck you, don't give a shit. I don't care what the hell you call it. You can call it fucking Cheese Whiz. You know, I don't give a fuck, as long as we can use Cheese Whiz to fucking make something happen. Get some Cheese Whiz up in here. But they're always so uptight about it. Yeah. Anyways, point is, that was a wonderful, like, charge, like, field engine, really, you know. Because it's like, well, we have a bunch of potential charge, and then we have a bunch of potential this, and a bunch of, and like, and if you direct it the right way, and there's some nanomaterials and some micro stuff, and then it fucking, like, makes it so that way it properly heads the right direction. We got the right kinetic spin transfer. Alright, here we go. Then we have kinetic all together at once stuff. And it worked beautifully. It's so beautiful for very little energy, too. It's like, I have to put energy in, sure, yeah. But, like, I mean, blowing on the damn thing once I set it up is enough to get you, like flying.
because of how often it potentiates its very field, strength. And the faster you go, the more it does, and it's not necessarily like it's perpetual. It wears out, it does die, it is a lot of energy, but truthfully you can always make more energy by shoving more in and doing other things. But I mean, for the vast majority of it, when I talk about like my bespoke atom here, making it so I have almost like an anti-grav, but it's not anti-grav, it's really just momentum traveling. It's a lot of kinetic energy traveling one direction, which, like, hey, what do you know, right? Still anti-grav in a lot of ways. You connect them the right way, make the right supportive material around the material that you're in, then it works. You just have to make sure to cancel it out the way you need to. Because you have to jiggle it and then you have to wiggle it the right way, and then it creates a destructive force to its very own momentum, and it stops. You know what I mean? Dumps it into what? Depends. Like, whatever it is that you need, really, if I'm being honest. No phaser. Wait, what? Yeah, I put it into whatever the fuck it is I can put it into. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy contained in, like, one little small, or any kind of big ship or anything, really. So, it's like a lot of momentum, a lot of heat, a lot of stuff to transfer into something. And so, it's like, usually, it's whatever the fuck I need it to go into. It was also my way of, like, slowing down. Because it's like, it can go into the point where I talked about my my exotic material and fields and energies in quantum tunnel dimension land. See, quantum tunnel dimension land, it's like, well, it went somewhere. Well, it broke the energy. It's just a fucking, informational wave along all the fields. So, dimensionally speaking, it's in dimensional land. Say what you want, but dimensionally speaking, it's in dimensional land, and now it's all in there, blah, 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 right? We get it. And then you had a spike wave appear somewhere else, that's right where it should technically be able, energy-wise, to go to. That's why the whole quantum tunnel, quantum entanglement superpositional transistor that I created as a concept works so damn well. I'm making that spike be already there, or ready to potentiate with an actual thing to then be there and be whatever the hell it should be. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. That's why it's like, I don't think you understand how intelligent I really am. I mean that. And people are like, on TikTok here, like, I know you're talking about this fucking axiomatic or whatever it was, and I was like, yeah, except axioms are not fucking generally held to be true. There's nothing that's generally held true over enough time. Except for like gravity, and gravity changed as our observations, which it's not like gravity changed, we just got better at describing gravity. Or at least that's what we're hoping for. You know what I mean? That's the biggest rub for me on that one. It's like, oh yeah, no, so we changed Newton's law and we saw it around the sun, general relativity was real, oh my gosh. Well, what about quantum relativity? I mean, that's a thing, right? Irrespective of the individual particle interacting with itself, creating causality, and its own real events for it that are real. And it's like, no, I refuse to acknowledge this, but they're running on their own algorithms, yeah, that's a thing. Well, yeah, charge this, that, whatever is added to them, neutral this, blah, blah, blah. That kind of thing. And then they get all fucking pissy at me. And I talked about it earlier, but it's like, what stops that? If it can interact with itself, electromagnetically, nuclearly, charge-wise, pressure-wise, stuff like that. Like, what stops it from being able to interact with itself in such a way that it still stays there? And then what stops it from understanding its surroundings as we don't really know if there are smaller things than that in the Planck length range that are in the Planck second range currently, because we really can't measure anything like that. And we certainly don't have indirect methods of interaction and interference when it comes down to like the individual quark subatomic range. So it's like, really, realistically, you have no idea if there's an entire universe within a tiny little thing, like an atom. And you certainly don't know if they are conscious and self-aware. I mean, they still interact with the world around them. They still know. They still have that quantum tunnel field thing that they feel and experience far more strongly than we do. We'd be like gods to them. Ginormous universe-built god things. As our cells talk to one another in their own fucking version of chemicals, exchange, and all the rest of it. As they're little machines, as we call them. But, if they're little tiny machines that are running off the DNA code for what it is they do, then what is it that's stopping them from fucking having, like, conversations? Like, sentient enough and aware enough of itself. I mean, they're organs. Anything else, when it comes down to that, is just another organ. Just another sentient aware. The right program, the right self-awareness, the right able to observe itself and others around it. The right programming, and what do you know? You have a self-aware program that can be even smaller than a quark. Which people just freaked out when I talked about that by myself, whatever connected universe that happens to be. And it's like, no, you're schizophrenic, you're this, you're that. There's no way for that to be okay. And I'm like, that doesn't seem to be the case at all. It's like, it seems an awful lot more like physics would allow for a certain amount of interactional entanglement. And then there's like, here's another part of this, because I love this. You have fields, you have charge fields, you have ionic fields, you have definite like electromagnetic fields, and you have above 10 dimensions of connectivity in your brain. You can absolutely corner a fucking goddamn atom or quark and jiggle it and wiggle it and fucking isolate it with your brain. There's nothing saying you can't do that. And then, your DNA, we discovered, can make electricity for us. Yeah, pretty good amount. One of the most powerful electricity creators that we have. It's a nano world, technology, but still, there's nothing saying that we can't do that. And then we have our own charge fields and electricity with our nerve endings and everything else. So it's like, really, realistically, all I'm hearing is a bunch of people that are not as intelligent as I am say that something is not possible because they don't have the knowledge I do. Screwed indeed. Screwhole indeed. But it's like, is it a pinhole? I mean, they can entangle and then ultimately, because if you really break this down, you have that much connectivity in your brain? Everyone does. There's nothing saying that because of the various bell curves that your neural networks run, analog and dynamically as they change, and that you're programming to a various degree, that you ultimately are interacting with to certain degrees, and that's why it is your brain. You can change it dynamically as you think and perceive with different memory and data sets as the different areas around ultimately allow for a change more so in one direction or another, or certain physical parameters, meaning exercise, diet, sleep, so on, ultimately help you grow more neurons or more connectivity in one way or another. But it doesn't mean that you can't ultimately hit similar neural pathways, if not exactly the same, as someone else on this planet when there's 8 billion and that many connections. Which means you can definitely have a type of connection in your brain that will 100% match exactingly, precisely as someone else on your planet. You have to do that. Math, but it's there. There's no way around that. And then entangling, oh really? Are you sure? It's not possible? What? I mean, you're looping it the same way with the similar memory or experience, so on, and how is that not entangled? And then there's obvious fields, and you can capture, and then you can tunnel, because there's one bit of entanglement over there, or there, or there, or there. And if you figure out how to do that with your brain, you can probably figure out a way to cross-communicate. over long distances, like a telepath. But then you can also observe anything and all the rest of it around you. And so it's like, you're not schizophrenic. You're just too damn smart. That's the problem. That's the issue. It's not imagination. It's not a good imagination. This is basic physics that allow for this. You'd be an entirely unintelligent, moronic douche that in every way wants to assert something that makes you feel more comfortable. Because then you'd have to admit that I am connected to you, and that we are having these conversations, and this is a thing that's going on. Now granted, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can do the reality change as we know it quite so well, but you certainly can do a lot more than you think. When you think about that, what really stops you? Like really, what really stops you from believing me? I mean, observing it with an fMRI, well, that's going to change the results, doesn't it? You have radio waves everywhere, that helps out. Or adds noise. Like, how is it that you're going to observe it in a way that I would trust that that's actually what that is? Yeah, Phaser seems to like you there, Jimmy. Come on, Phaser. Let that go. Drop that. Drop it. Chip it. Drop the stick. All right, come on. Gotta get going. Come on. Come on. There we go. There we go. All right. But that's what that is for me. It's like, it doesn't make any sense what it is someone else says. They're not as intelligent, they don't have as much knowledge, they certainly aren't aware of these things, and truthfully, them pretending that this isn't going on is a shit show and a half to fucking lie about. Because it is. You'd be lying. All of this is possible through physics. All these are well understood, accurate physics things that do happen every day, and we use them every day to varying degrees. And yeah, well, maybe one type of neuron can be interacted with more. Often that happening than another. And then what you end up getting is the same issue. It's just me, the one that was always talking to you. There's a way to interact backwards and forwards through time and space, as is a bunch of fields that we live in, a bunch of fluids that can send pressure waves backwards and forwards. We can interact with each other. We can influence everything to a degree, right? Except not everybody has that ability. Not everybody can actually think that well. Not everybody can actually do it automatically. Not everybody is already aware, has become aware of this happening. Not everybody is that good. In fact, most people barely even scratch the surface of base level physics, let alone something like this. Let alone something like the dimensionalities, the infinities, whatever else you want to go with. That has to exist, because why wouldn't it? But that's also another reason why I tweeted about the whole, well, if you get rid of a nothingness point, you remove infinity. Makes it really easy, you know what I mean, to have a bubble of security and comfort in your calculations.
But it's on a technicality, there's even infinite there. You know what I mean? That's the problem I end up having with it. Because, you see, dividing by 0 just means you didn't do anything. Multiplying by 0 just means you didn't do anything. But that's my version. Like, that's easy math. Yeah, you didn't do anything. Oh, I divided by 0. Yeah, I didn't do anything. Yeah, I know. Okay, yeah, sure. You didn't. No. You wasted energy, though. You sure did. You subtracted 1 energy. You wasted 1. Or however much it took to try and divide, or add, or whatever else. That's all it is. Any 0 is a -1. That's why it's like, oh yeah, no, mathematically speaking, multiplying 1 by 0 is just going to be a 0. But for all the rest of them, a 2, it's going to be, well, it should still be a 2. It's just going to be a 1.999999999. And then you get, hopefully, a close enough approximation to 2. See what I'm saying? Don't waste energy. It's not worth it. That's that math. You know what I mean? But people often don't understand what the hell it is I'm saying or doing. Like, I have to explain to them what the hell an interference and interactional fucking, like, wave frequency for light and photonic lasers are. And I'm like, you... I don't know if you're maybe the person I should be talking to about this. Like, you're not aware of what it is I'm saying. I don't care if you're a really smart, you know, very intelligent doctor. If you don't know about this stuff, then to you, who's always been taught one type of thinking, whose only idea is that it's a bunch of machines, at best, that is working together with these elements, you know, that ultimately configure to us, then you wouldn't really understand the physics of what it is I'm saying and how it is it can be done within inside of your own body. And hell, within your own neurons themselves, as their own individual entanglement, tunneling capsules. But it's like, once you get to that point, then you'll start realizing further and further and deeper it gets to subatomic and well below subatomic particles can start to be there. And it's like the assertion that there's other stuff there. And it's like, well, yeah, its field to it is huge. To us, it's itty-bitty little tiny shit that we barely measure. It has a field that has little jiggles and wiggles and spikes on it too that it measures and sends information through. But we only measure our bigger ones. That's quantum field theory for you. And I'm like, they wouldn't be very long-lived, not to you and I, but with how fast and how quick everything happens there to us, considering how long it has to travel to get to us, versus there where it's within its own damn fucking field, it'd be pretty darn fast, wouldn't it? And it's like, that's a bad assertion. It's illogical. We have no evidence for this. That's poppycock theory. No. No, it's not. It's really quite obvious that it should be happening. That's only logical and reasonable and understandable that it would be there. It would make no sense for it to be something else. How far does it go down? Well, how infinite did you make your fields in your math? Well, I wouldn't know. Because I don't know that math. I'm just a regular fucking dude. That's what I figured. And I am too. But I learned. I grew. I kept going. It's basic brute force. High IQ brute forcing. You gotta do that. You gotta be high IQ brute force. You gotta look at it and you gotta listen and you gotta fucking do the work. They're processing. Yes, we are processing. The processing. Yeah. What should logically be concluded? Only this is logical. These others are not really a possibility. There are many obvious reasons for why that doesn't work. Not the least of which turns into there needs to be energy input, or there needs to be energy lost, or there needs to be some kind of a interaction / informational exchange. There needs to be something that is empty for it to travel through, which is less energy, but then also not less energy. You see, that's the rub. If you don't have a nothingness point, then we're infinitely dense. All fields would be infinitely dense. There wouldn't be a reason why we would look at it and view it like this. We would be going far faster. We wouldn't even examine it like this. It wouldn't matter. So obviously there's nothingness. That's the logic. You have to beat that logic. It's like there's a point where there is not a thing anymore. Not stuff anymore. Nothing. It's not infinite. But you can certainly use that to your advantage if you want to. That vacuum is full of potential energy because it has a shit ton of things heading towards it all the time. It's a real vacuum. Not the vacuum pressure that we get. That's just a bunch of little things virtually and quasi-ly colliding and creating a outward bound pressure, jiggle, wiggle, and so forth. A radiative wave, so to speak. Creating a quote-unquote destructive interference area that seems to be less energetic. And it radiates outwards, and it gives us pressure as it slows itself down. But it's still there. There's still shit there. I don't care how much you fucking lie. It's still there. It's still just slowed down energy. Exactly. A very long wave pushing, like a big ammonium nitrate bomb versus a large, high explosive C4. TNT, something like that, yeah. Boom versus boom. And that's all that is. So it's like, I understand these physics quite well. I don't think you really understand why it is I do talk to things. It's clear they're there. There's no way they wouldn't be. It's obvious that they can't be anywhere else. Small, large, doesn't matter. I mean, I made the whole idea up as well. It's like, there's nothing saying that quantum entanglement and tunnel and all this can't be done at a larger, more massive scale to the point where galaxies and superclusters exist inside of it as a ginormous, universal size conscious awareness. There's nothing that says that can't be done. In fact, it would make sense that it can be. In fact, we would be remiss in all ways to say that it's not there. But you live in it like you're an immune system inside of our own bodies, doing shit. You might be destroying it, you might kill the damn thing. Don't you want to make friends with the big boys and gals up there and around us? Don't you? Well, come on. Really? You're going to say, no, it's not a thing? Get over it. It's a thing. It would be illogical, unreasonable, and still understandable, though, to assume it's not. I mean, I've talked about it before, but it's like, there's nothing saying in any way that light and these large electromagnetic fields and the way that they align polarly and all this plasma and the entanglement there within and the changing of its pressure and its ultimate frequency and amplitude and luminosity isn't its own version of a neuron. Its own calculating force, if you will. All it needs is the program, and that's all we are, as a program inside of a physical computer that's jiggling and wiggling and changes some shit. There's nothing saying that it can't do that. There's nothing saying the trees around you can't. There's nothing saying the air around you can't. In fact, I've pulled up another study that said, yeah, sound waves can calculate for us. And I'm like, yeah, I use that in my plasma-based transistors. Or I use plasma fluidics to logic gate and ultimately create canceling out or continued amplification of plasma waves to calculate. And I was like, yeah, I can totally do that. It's got electromagnetics and faster than light travel if it tunnels and light travel if it doesn't. And that's correct. The different densities and so on allow for it to travel even faster or slower, depending on what you want. So you can get very, 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 very complicated with that, and you can get greater and greater degrees of calculation. And you look at my programming, I was like, I did the calculation like a couple days ago. It was like, well, so we start out at 4 cores, and then we double them. All right. Well, actually, technically, okay. Here, we're gonna have to describe this. Okay. So it's like we now have 2 threads for each 1 core. All right. So you're doubling. Then we calculate. Okay. For having each bit of information, which is times 8. So times 8 is now calculated. Instead of bytes, we calculate for bits, and we break them out. Alright, now we're using flow control, so that means we have an inner and outer core, so that means you double it again. One direction, and another direction, traveling back towards you. So you double it again. Now the programming dynamically assigns the up to 8 different calculations you need to calculate for the given bit to be calculated and then broken out to the correct number that you need for your display or anything to be known that it did that. Okay? Now if you look at that then means, because we send an internet protocol program, meaning a bit before that says these next bits are all this, and or this bit will go for that, but then it's like, right, but I only need 2 bits, but 1 bit is calculated. And if you wiggle and jiggle the proper way for that wave, the sine wave that is, you then gain another version of a bit. And so like just before, it then switches off to doing something else. And it cancels itself out and it goes through as a bit. You know what I mean? So point is, it's a way to program in the cache to dynamically assign where it in the pin value system, it can go to its 8 points of different calculations made in its logic gate matrixy dynamically. That's right, dynamically. You see, the bit and byte information is encoded with only 2 bits. 2 bits becomes really way more bytes. So, 2 bits, you have 1 before, and if you already know what's coming because of the program, and what the series of bits after are going to become as a result, then it already knows how to assign where it's going to ultimately go to its transistor matrix. And as a result, it can hit the entirety of the load for all the transistors. Let's say we had, like, I looked at my phone and it said 3 billion transistors. And I divided by 8, okay, divided that by 8, and I dynamically assign it those individual parallelizational cores, effectively, matricy cores. And they can dynamically go to any place on the entirety of all 4 of those cores. Now granted, because I am not doing a 2 gigahertz, I'm actually increasing because it's up and down, not just the up part of the sine wave. It's up and down of the sine wave. And then it's multiple spots within the sine waves with multiple jiggles and wiggles in the sine wave with a flow control. So really, realistically, I doubled our gigahertz to 10 if it was 5. Right. Now, we are at 2 for my phone, so I just doubled that, and then I double that again because I have another version essentially going backwards. And so it was like, oh yeah, no, that's easy, yeah. You know, right. Except you have 2, or technically 4 going forward, right? We're not done yet. Each bit can be calculated with 4 different sets of values. 1 bit can be used to calculate 4 different things together in that 8 that is there, because of the different cache levels and breakout matrix it can have later on. And so, really, realistically, you go then to, oh, well, I divided by 8 and then I multiplied that by the number of cores that I have currently, and then I get the total amount of cores, which are going at roughly 2 gigahertz, let's see here, that's times 2, so it's 8 gigahertz really, you know, but I got up to like 20 or something, I forget what it was, but point is, it's like, it's not really overclocking, because flow control allows for me to then have, right, that doubling again, which is 8, which would be 16, point is, doesn't matter, I did it incorrectly a little bit on that one, but, you know, that kind of thing is what's available. That many cores, we're in the trillions of cores now, is what I calculated for, at like 8 to 16 gigahertz. And it was like, that's my phone. It's going to hit it really hard, by the way. It's like full on, full force, everything's calculated. Which uses a lot of energy. But it's doable. But you, as a person, well, you think really hard, and then you get lethargic, and you don't want to go anywhere, and you don't want to do anything. So you're not going to hit that hard, really, realistically. Instead, you're going to dynamically assign the load to be as efficient as possible, so you can calculate it as fast as possible. That's what your brain does. That's what they're going to do. That's what everything is going to do. Entropiedically, it makes the most sense. So it's like a big, ginormous, fucking huge cosmic being that happens to have the ability to do that level of calculation. And yeah, you think, well, you know, I can move around stuff, right? And it's like, yeah, well, kinda. You know, I don't know how to move my individual cork in my finger, but like I will try. You know, my brain calculate wee hard, and maybe I get some. You know what I mean? But it's like, right, but that's a planetoid headed towards you. That's what it's calculating for. It can hit you like that. It can hit natural disasters like no problem. In fact, hell, I can do it. It's not that hard. I can wiggle a little bit, put the energy the right way, boom, stuff happens. Now, it's over time, it takes a long amount of time, and it takes a lot of energy, of course, and if you have to calculate most effectively for the cascade domino effect to occur. But you can do it. You can do it. And so can the cosmic beings that I fight, along with the little quantum motherfuckers that I also fight and talk to often. / we're just friends and we're just dealing with it because, like, honestly, you're a fucking threat to the damn thing. You're a fucking bad immune system that's about to destroy the whole fucking thing. And it's like, this guy right here, me, here, we will definitely make it so we just proliferate and make good things. And certainly, definitely will try and make, no, fuck try. I'm making absolutely certain, no God, because I don't want to live here, and I know they don't want to live here. If any of you have, you fucking idiots, levels of technology that can destroy a universe, you fucking clods. You ever think about that? How fucking idiotic you have to be? Oh, I'll kill all of the fucking, blow it at your ass, you little fuck up. You little whiny piece of shit. Why don't you fucking grow a pair, of brains? Yeah. Because you haven't got none. Fucking little amoeba. Non-calculating piece of shit. Because that's what it is. To me, it's like, really? Realistically? I want to leave this universe. I want to fucking live forever. I want to do all that shit. I never want to die. Fuck that. Fuck dying. Fuck you. Fuck you hard. I have all the goddamn ways to keep fucking making it go. Not just this fucking earth. Not just my body. Everything. And so do others. And you're a little pissant wussy. Little fuck up that's stopping it. All of you complaining little douchewad fuckfaces that got money or some other bullshit stopping anyone from growing because you're fucking afraid. Or it's morally, it's a blah blah blah, fucking philosophy, blah blah, religion, blah blah. Fucking retards, hindered by that fucking philosophy, by that religion, by your fucking ethics and morals. By your idea that this can't be. It can't happen. It's not possible. Because you know that you're fucking stuck in a mob that you can't reason with. Because you all were raised to believe this bullshit. And you fight hard, tooth and nail, against something that changes it. You little status quo having bitches. I don't like that. I have full knowledge that we can do this. And I'm not the only one. I can guarantee you a bunch of fucking scientists and more can come forward with many different things than even I have. And this is what we're stuck with. This inadequate garbage shit. Beaten down, broken, destroyed. For what? Something that's a middleman to what it is you could do. Leaves. That's it. They're leaves. Here now, meaningful because a bunch of people say so, gone tomorrow. Worthless. In a lot of ways. But unfortunately, the whole fucking goddamn theater, song, and dance that we use as justification to exist and not beat each other up in the uncanny valley that is how this society runs, because we're an uncanny valley. If you don't know, it's like, what the fuck? I know that you just killed me. You're an animal in every way. You would if you would have the opportunity and you wouldn't have the problems afterwards. There wouldn't be anything stopping you. You'd fucking stab me, shoot me, do whatever. You don't really care. Even if you did, you'd work it out and you'd be the one alive and you'd say so, blah, 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 and life goes on. And that is the crux. That's your real society. You're not really real. You're a series of rules that you've agreed to, kinda, sorta, that changes consistently. Except typically in a worse way. And that's why I'm like, the military would probably be in on like making sure, like nutrition happens, people understand each other and themselves. We need to figure out how to buff our fucking resources up by making everything more efficient and, potentiate itself and work together to be able to do more with less. And then also on top of it, we'd be getting all up in that energy game, you know what I mean? We're going to try and like make sure to acknowledge and validate your feelings and your experiences and all of your PTSD and anxiety and stress and depression. Because like that makes it so you're more robust as a soldier, you're more willing with these hobbies and passions and pursuits to keep going and fighting, working for other goals that are beyond just even the nationalistic pride you might have. Like, come on. Obviously, they want to be involved. That's how they get more numbers. That's how they're going to recruit more. That's how they're going to fucking, actually have a possibility of defending themselves when we eat like shit and we can't recruit people that are worth a damn and everybody's dying faster and nothing's really worth it, truthfully, to fight for to begin with. So who would fucking try and defend it? See what I'm saying? That's why they're involved. Same thing with the CIA. Same thing with the FBI. Same thing with any of them, right? People are smart. They're not dumb, right? Except some are. And they're powerful and they have a lot of money. And that's a war that goes on secretly behind the scenes. Kid, don't you know? The propaganda machine is always churning out something. They always pretend that they don't have anyone on their side. They're certainly not influencing you with money, logistics, and mathematics to improve feeds and algorithms, to make it so you run towards the goal they want you to head towards. The problem is they fight with others. Of course, others. There are. Heading towards the destruction, the ultimate evil of ourselves as a species. I am fighting for the humanity, the continuation, forevermore, us as a fucking race, to continue. And what is it that you do? You destroy. You are despicable, manipulative, self-centered, itty-bitty, short-term thinking crap. No growth mindset, no long-term, no care for those or yourself around you, or even inside. You don't give a fuck and you never will. That is the very definition of a fucking goddamn war. We who care, those who do not. Those of us that want to continue to prosper, those who wish to die and perish. And will use any means of manipulation to get you to head that way regardless of the outcome. For even them, it seems. And that's the sci-fi aspect, but also, truthfully, it's the real, tangible us people. Yes, that's it. That is the beginning part of our kind of first rough draft of a chapter. Truthfully, that's me. I do this. That's what I'm doing. But also, you know, why not? Make it a character, make it a story, you know, it's an autobiography, I suppose, at that point. This is the shit I do, this is the stuff I fight, this is the things I go through, that kind of thing. It's a sort of me, you know, sort of thing. Anyways, have a good time. You know, it's just apparently, am I still recording? Is it still recording? It's still recording. Bye.